Today on the O&S Podcast, we have Erik Ostberg. Erik is a left-handed hitting catcher and was the 13th round pick for the Tampa Bay Rays in the 2017 MLB draft out of the University of Hartford. And he, excitingly enough, is the newest member of the O&S team. In this conversation, we talk about his life, habits, diet, and how he's achieved his dream of playing baseball professionally. I hope you enjoy this podcast with the one and only Erik Ostberg. Erik, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm really excited. This is a really good setup. I wasn't expecting this when I walked in.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, for people that don't know, we are at a podcast studio that a buddy of mine runs, and the outside is very intimidating. Unassuming. It's for sure. Like, I've had a couple guys that come in and we're going to do a podcast, and the last one we did at like 6:00 in the morning, so it was super dark, and the guy that was on, Chase, was on the podcast, and we pull up and he's like, you gonna Texas Chainsaw Massacre me here? It's very unassuming, but then you walk in and it's just this beautiful studio.
Yeah, it's super clean, super unique. This is awesome.
Yeah.
I've done a couple podcasts, couple interviews here and there, and this is definitely the best.
Nice.
This is definitely the
awesome.
best. Yeah.
I'll pass that on.
Yeah.
So Erik, who are you?
Well, I'm a 23-year-old baseball player from Western Massachusetts. Just always been a dreamer, always, wanted to play professional baseball. And now I'm here in Florida, and I'm working with you and getting to talk about it. And it's amazing. I try to step back a lot and realize how full circle it's all come. I'm a very big podcast fan. a lot of podcasts that I listen to on my own, going to bed at night, and anytime I get to do a podcast, so especially with something like this is a blast. So I still feel like I'm a kid, man.
Yeah.
I still feel like I'm a kid.
To me, you're a kid. At 23 years old, you're still a kid. And so basically the goal with this podcast is to interview guys like you, elite athletes that play on a professional level, and not just hear your story as far as, what you went through to get to where you are. But also hear your habits, mindsets and even diet, and what are some of those things. So, let's hear a little bit more about your story. What got you into baseball?
Well, I mean, that's a broad question. I mean, I have the most fond memories of being a kid, and obviously I'm growing up in Mass, and
is baseball big up in Massachusetts?
Actually, not really. I mean, you talk about the landscape of pro ball. I mean, there's really not a lot of professionals from the Northeast in general. I mean, talking Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Rhode Island. There's not a lot. But obviously, coming from Massachusetts, the most fond memories of growing up playing outside with my friends, playing football, wiffle ball, basketball, and then 7:00 rolls around, we walk inside, the Red Sox are on, Nesson, turn it on with my dad, and those teams from the early 2000s, 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just the most fond memories with all my friends turning on Nesson at 7 and watching the Red Sox, Doug Minkiewicz, Bill Miller, David Ortiz, Manny Ramirez, Orlando Cabrera, Nomar Garcia-Parra. I mean,
all the legends
guys that I looked up to, as kids. And that's pretty much where it started, 3, 4, 5 years old. I'm watching these guys on TV and I'm thinking, like, this is awesome. I want to be these guys. The idea of hitting a ball as far as I can over a fence as consistently as possible was an obsessive idea to me. So I just loved it from the start, man.
Did you watch the movie The Sandlot?
I have seen that movie a long time ago.
Okay, so I grew up, so Sandlot came out and I grew up with that movie. So like I'm Puerto Rican, so people automatically assume that I'm good at baseball, but I'm horrible at baseball. Like really, really bad, like embarrassingly bad.
It's not easy.
It's a terribly hard sport, but so growing up in the Sandlot, we had that same type of setup. In my neighborhood, we went to a baseball field and played just from sun up to sundown, especially during the summer.
It's the best, man.
But yeah, it sounds like it was a fun time. There's like a lot of great memories.
Nobody does that now, man. It makes me sad. No kids are out there playing with their friends in the neighborhood. It's really the sad culture that we're developing now as far as sports. But man, that's really where it started. Was just like a kid, man. I wanted to be on the TV. I wanted to be playing at Fenway. I wanted to be wearing that jersey. Just everything about it, the jerseys, the sounds, the culture of it, the way the guys look, the way throwing, catching, hitting. I mean, just the basics of it. Coast play at the plate, making a diving catch. Like, I just loved it, and just always just asking my mom to pitch to me, and stay with my dad, and my dad would come home from work every day, getting up at 5. He'd work all day long. He'd come home. He always had time to play catch with me, and he really taught me from the start how to play the game at a very basic level, and I would argue is one of the best youth coaches in the country, honestly, as far as being able to address concepts and teach kids, and man, this is the best.
So you were set up really early on to have like the basic fundamentals of baseball and really hone in on those skills.
Yeah, I was lucky. I had a good dad. Good dad. I mean, everybody learns from their dad. I was blessed to have a dad that was number one, smart, passionate about the game. Played at Amherst College for a very famous coach named Bill Thurston, and he just taught me everything from a young age, and me and my brother to turning double plays in the yard and learning just how to throw, how to create spin, how to use our feet. And I was just obsessed with it because I knew that I could do it. I feel like a lot. I like to describe myself as a dreamer. There's no reason a kid from Massachusetts, when it's cold, 2/3 of the year, it should play professional baseball. I'm not from Florida. I'm not from California, where these guys playing all year long. And get the opportunities to play 100 games in a season. There's no reason that I should have done it. And, I looked up to the guys in the area and just worked, man. There's nothing else, other way to describe it, just work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so you're in a situation right now, because you're still eye on the prize.
Yeah.
Your focus hasn't stopped.
No, we're in the process right now.
Yeah.
Baseball's an everlasting process as far as working up through the minor leagues, getting to the big leagues, and getting to college, getting drafted. I mean, it's such a long process.
So you played, basically all through, elementary school, middle school, high school. Did you get a full ride scholarship to a university?
Yeah, well, I got a scholarship to the University of Hartford, which is in Connecticut. A lot of people listening to this probably don't know that school. It's a mid-major school in Connecticut, most famous for Jeff Bagwell. Going there, I don't know if you've heard of him.
Nope.
Hall of Famer.
I don't want to lie on the podcast
here. Jeff Bagwell was one of my childhood heroes. And, went to University of Hartford, obviously you get to high school and to get drafted, you're eligible your senior year of high school. If not, your junior year of college. So I was a guy that, I always envisioned myself playing college baseball. I wanted to play in the SEC. I wanted to play at Vanderbilt. I wanted to play against Clemson and all those schools. And, just went through the whole recruiting process. Every high school kid out there understands that it's a brutal game, and the recruiting process is brutal. And I talked to a variety of schools: BC, UConn, Northeastern, George Washington, Bucknell, Lafayette, all the Ivy Leagues. Just tons of different schools. And I ended up going to University of Hartford, which was a smaller name school. It wasn't the poster child of the Northeast like UConn was, or BC. And really because I wanted to go where I was wanted, and the coaches there, I would argue, one of the best coaching staffs in the country. Justin Blood, Steve Malinowski, Elliot Glenn, just blew my mind in the recruiting process.
What made them different?
So I think, I wanted to go to a program very similar to this, what you're starting here with Oak and Stone, something that's growing, right? Something that's on the way up, guys that are passionate about it. You could kind of, every college coach is passionate, but there was a different feel at Hartford as far as what they wanted to build, where they were coming from. Hartford was bottom of the barrel, 6-win season after I committed there, something like that, just low. One of the worst teams in D1. And, they brought in a whole new coaching staff from UConn, and those guys were responsible for drafting the guys like George Springer, Matt Barnes, Nick Ahmed, one of my mentors. And those guys are like, I idolize those guys, man. I want to go play for them. And he would always call me after games, and he really wanted. I wanted to go where I was wanted. And I could just tell that they were very invested in me, and more so than other places. They had a beautiful facility. And I went there, and it was the best decision I ever made because I got to go. I got to make mistakes as a freshman. Got to develop. If I went to BC or UConn, if I didn't play that well, maybe it's a different story.
Right.
But they allowed me to develop. They allowed me to make mistakes, and I'm very thankful to them for that. It was a good academic fit too. Good place for me to go to school. It was just.
So you said it's a smaller school for a D1.
Yeah, it's 8,000 kids playing the America East Conference, which is Stony Brook, UMaine, UMBC, UMass Lowell, Binghamton, schools like that. So small conference, but man, it was great. It was
so stepping into the university and working with that coaching staff. What were a lot of the main focuses as far as like what you were working on? As far as where did you need to improve? Did you come in as a catcher? Did you come in as a hitter?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a really good question. I I only started catching as a freshman in high school. I was at third base, and my dad was an infielder. I was a really good infield coach, and I played infield my whole life. I got to high school, and of course, I want to play on the varsity team. And we had a guy named Jason Sport, who was a part-time scout for the Blue Jays, and he knew how passionate I was about baseball. He pulled me aside. He said, I know how much you want to make it in this game. I think your best shot is as a catcher. You're a left-handed hitter. You're stockier, you're bigger, kind of fits your profile. I said, okay, let's do it. Not even hesitation. Never played catcher. He dedicated tons of hours to me before JV practice in like 8th grade, middle school, just teaching me the position. He caught at BC, he had a really high level of knowledge about it. And he taught me just the basics of catching. And so when I started playing as a freshman, I get to catch on varsity as a freshman, catching these D1 guys going to Virginia Tech, Fordham. I was good, but I wasn't really that good at catching. I could always hit, and the ability to hit is what took me to college. But I was very raw defensively. Only a couple of years under my belt at the position. So here I am walking into a Division I school, going to go play at Duke University, my first career game, and I'm trembling back there. I'm just tense, and there was a lot of things I had to work on defensively. So that was really why they allowed me to develop. I really made a lot of mistakes defensively early in my career at Hartford. So that was that. I'm a late bloomer as far as my position,
right?
But which makes me different. But I can play infield, outfield, everything.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
And so, do you think that was your time of like your largest growth within the game was playing at Hartford and really being mentored by a lot of this coaching staff? And it sounds like very one-on-one. They definitely saw the potential that you had.
Yeah, I would say that was the adjustment from the adjustment from high school to college was a big adjustment. And for any baseball player that I hope listens to this, learning to work through an at-bat, learning how to manage a pitching staff, what do different pitchers like to do, how do you work through a game, and these are all things. In high school, I just got away with my athleticism. I loved it. I worked hard. So the more I prepare, the stronger I was year to year. I'd play better. But once I got to college, everybody's strong. Everybody's good. Everybody's throwing 92. And the ability to work through an at-bat was tough. And the ability to catch competently, early in that first fall was an adjustment. And they invested so much time. I hope they see this. I hope that they understand, what an impact they made on my career. I think they know that. And I remember getting blitzed by them a few times, for just dumb mistakes or messing up our sign sequences with a guy in second base, stuff like that. All things I had to work through and make those mistakes, and then allow me to get back on the field and then start to play better.
Awesome.
It was awesome.
Yeah. That's really, really cool. So,
yeah.
So then you graduate university.
Well, I didn't graduate. I got drafted as a junior.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So my first draft eligible season, I got drafted by the Tampa Bay Rays, dream.
What? So, yeah. What was that feeling like?
Just the draft process is a long process. So that whole year before that, I'm getting questionnaires, medical forms, eye tests, personality tests. A variety of different, they're coming and measuring our wrists, the measurements of our wrists and our neck and our ankles.
What do you need those measurements for?
I don't know. To be honest, I'm not sure. Maybe
is it just for body fat percentages?
Well, there's that. You could do caliper tests, bod pod stuff, but this was just a lot of obscure tests different organizations would do. Why do they do them? I'm not sure. Maybe just looking at the profile of the athlete, how much they could grow,
Gotcha.
what their profile looks like. But just a very long process. So that whole, getting drafted, it's a year, build up. Obviously you're playing and you got scouts coming to all your games and you got to perform well. And you got scouts, cross-checkers, national cross-checkers, and everybody's got to come see you. And my junior year was crazy. I was leading the country in hitting my junior year. And I was
in Division I?
Yeah, I was leading the whole country in hitting.
Really?
Yeah, hitting 500, and that's kind of like was my calling card, and my junior year, and tons of scouts at the games, tons and tons of scouts. Starting to get national attention from a small D1, obviously. I always had a chip on my shoulder, up there with the guys from Louisville, Vanderbilt,
And here you
Clemson,
are.
Here I am, University of Hartford. Yeah. So, but I ended up getting hurt my junior year on a slide halfway through the season. So dream season gets cut off. had a lot of scouts that
How'd you get hurt?
I was sliding. I played the plate up at University of Maine. They had just replaced some turf, and it was uneven at the new turf versus the old turf. My knee kind of clicked the lip of the new turf. Ended up tearing my PCL, which if it was my ACL, maybe I wouldn't have gotten drafted. You know what I mean? But I dream season, hitting 500, cut off. Obviously, it's my draft eligible season. I worked my whole life to get to this point, and then to have it shut down 3 months before the draft was horrible. So
you were only 3 months out.
3 months out. So I'm halfway through the season, right? And so obviously the whole point was there were a lot of scouts that weren't able to see me after, when I had gotten hurt.
Yeah, because they hadn't made it to all.
Yeah. So there were pretty much every organization had seen me, but a lot of cross checkers hadn't, and so that kind of complicated the process towards the end. Very stressful time. I was very sad about it, just because I'd worked so hard to get to that point, and here I am.
Well, they obviously saw something in you because you still got drafted.
Yeah, I got drafted. Ended up working out, even with the injury. But
how long were you down for?
About 4 months.
Okay. Before you were back to 100%?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Never experienced anything like it in my life, honestly. Never been hurt. So to get hurt at that time, and I'm transitioning into pro ball. First year in pro ball, very similar to my freshman year, very tough. Hadn't played and needed to make adjustments. And baseball's a game of adjustments. And you continuously need to make those. And I need to make adjustments this year, made adjustments last year. Then that's the name of the game. So I'm very thankful to the Rays for the opportunity that I have, and I love being there. Coaches there are great, developing one of the best developmental organizations in baseball. That's a fact. So I love it. It ended up being a great fit.
So talk me through. Okay, so we talked a little bit about like the drafting process, and so does it work a lot like this, like the NFL draft, to where it's like you're getting a call from the coaching staff?
Yep.
Where were you when you got that call?
So I was at my house. I was watching the draft with my family, my best friend, Adam Kroll. Shout out to him. They're on the O&S podcast. He obviously he's another guy I gotta thank. He wouldn't be here without him too. But he was there, whole family. And the draft is a 3-day draft. It's 40 rounds of MLB draft. It's not as there's only 7 in the NFL, so it's a little more glitzy. But I thought I was going to get going on day 2, which would be rounds 3 to 10. I got a bunch of calls from teams. A couple teams called me, say, hey, we're going to draft you. Congratulations. And then their pick would come up on the TV and they just wouldn't draft me, So then,
well, that's the thing. It's just constantly shifting and changing as certain players get pulled. And, so.
And the pool in baseball is so big, right? We're talking about every high school senior, every JUCO player, every college junior, every college senior, huge pool of players, a little bit different than football and basketball. So there's a ton of talent, and all over the country, they're constantly deciding, where do we want to go? Who, what do we need? What positions? So
yeah, the strategy is constantly shifting.
Frustrating. And especially with the injury too. If I'd finished up that year, one of the top hitters in the country, I think it would have been a lot more clear. But ended up going in the 13th round of the Tampa Bay Rays. That was awesome. I had to wait till day 3 though. After that 10th round, I had to wait till that next day till the rest of the rounds started. That was a brutal wait. Just because I was like, man, where do I fall?
That sounds awful.
It was it was excruciating, but then it was also like the best day of my life as well.
For sure.
And
absolutely. You worked for that day for a very long time.
Yeah.
What's the difference as far as so as a catcher, obviously you're used to very, very fast baseballs coming at your head.
Yes.
What's the difference between let's say a really good high school pitcher in speed to a college to the pros?
Well, I mean, it's learning how to pitch, right? So everybody, guys can teach them. People can teach pitchers how to throw hard. That culture sort of developing right now. In high school, you might have a guy who has a really good fastball. His secondary pitch isn't very good, and he just lives off one pitch. Typically, average high school hitter can't hit in, out, up, down. So he'll just pound one spot. Then you get to college, you start having a lot more information on guys, scouting reports.
What's the average speed most high school pitchers are throwing at?
Well,
when you were in school.
When I was in school, man, the highs I probably saw was, there were a couple kids that touched 90. We faced a lot of D1 guys, faced a couple draft guys. In the summer, I'd play with guys 92, 93, 94 who were draft guys in high school. I played a very good summer program, and But the average guy, I mean, you roll over to any high school game, he's 82, 83. I mean,
that's still
is what it is. Not really, but I mean, it is what it is. But
like, seems fast to me.
That's above average a little bit. But it's a huge disparity, right? So then you get to college, everybody's 92, 88 to 92. And the difference is guys know how to pitch. So you're coming as a high school hitter, especially from New England, you're not playing a ton of games in high school, and then I go play summer. Having guys that know how to throw 3 pitches, know how to work in, out, right? I had to learn to work through that. And then when you get to pro ball, you have a variety of guys. You have guys from the international signs who are 18 who throw 100 but really don't know how to pitch. Then you have the polished college guy from the SEC who's 94 who has 3 good breaking balls and a changeup slider, can throw them for a strike. So there's a very wide disparity in what you're finding. And I would argue that it's I would argue that's all just pitchability. How guys work their at bats, how they can use their 3 pitches, 4 pitches, whatever. And that's the separator, really, because you can throw hard, but if you don't know how to pitch, you're not gonna have success. So.
Well, yeah. What is it like having that ball, 92 mile an hour ball, 95, 99, 100 mile? I mean, because now in your position, you're dealing with 100 mile.
Yeah, it's becoming more common. Yeah, it's becoming more common in the game. What is it like to kind of just
because you got to? I mean, that's the time between the ball leaving that pitcher's hand and to your glove. Mm-hmm. As long as they don't hit the ball. Mm-hmm. How? It's milliseconds.
It's hard I know it's hard to describe. I mean, hitting a baseball and trying to hit a baseball is excruciatingly difficult.
You're starting to swing before the ball. I mean, the ball is released, right?
Ideally, yeah. It's you're going until you're not. Like I'm going, go. No, you can't decide to swing. And with catching, you end up you see so many pitches that it starts to slow down a little bit. You also. Pitchers are good. They kind of know where they're going to throw, right? You're kind of looking for in a certain spot. You have to anticipate sliders, breaking balls, changeups. You're anticipating the movement because you've seen so many pitches and they can only move so many different ways. But it's tough when you get a guy who throws hard that doesn't have the command, and then you're kind of chasing a little bit, and that's an uncomfortable feeling. You want to make pitches look good. You want to blend pitches back into the zone, get as many strikes as you can. And when a guy is, kind of erratic, it becomes more difficult. But it's hard to describe, man. It's something that I think you can just do. I don't want to say it's just like you can't learn to do it, but just the ability to catch, and it just comes from playing a lot of catch. Catching things that are fast. Your brain starts to adjust, starts to slow down.
Slow down a little bit.
It does, awesome. Yeah. It just does. I mean, think about. You're lifting, right? I mean, the more you lift, the
easier, just more natural it becomes.
Exactly. No, same thing with skiing or, snowboard. I mean, the balance and the timing, like it's all the same. Your brain make the adjustment.
Okay.
The adjustment.
That's
tough to describe.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. As far as workouts and that kind of stuff with the Rays, like what does your daily life look like? And I mean, you guys play a crap ton of games in baseball. Yeah. Like the difference between even just the NFL and baseball, you guys play how many 100?
Well, in the major leagues, 162 without spring training. You're talking about spring training, you're playing 25 inter squads plus the 162. That's a lot of games.
So what does the training look like off the field? Because that has to be pretty taxing on the body. I mean, I know it's not like football to where you're getting hit and constantly, but the positions that you're in, you're tense, you're, especially when you're hitting, how the hell do you guys play that many games in a season?
Yeah, it's playing every day, long bus rides in the minor leagues. And it's very tough to adjust to that. I would say it starts in the off season, right? I always work from the sense of I want to be as strong as possible going into the season. And you typically lose 10, 12 pounds a season. So you kind of want to raise your floor if you can in the off season, right? So you're going through your lifts, you're going through your eating regimens and all that. And then you get to spring training, you feel good and you're strong, right? And then you get to this in the middle of the season and the bat starts to feel a little bit heavier. And it's like, so how can you keep that present strength? How can you stay adjusted? How can you make your adjustments as you start to lose strength? And that happens to every baseball player, right? Because it's such a long season, February to maybe October, right? It's a long time. So it all starts in the off season. If guys, I find that the guys that love lifting and love training are the guys that have the most success, because you got to be on the field, number one. One thing that I've implemented a lot more now is the way I move, right? What's my movement profile, right? I'm a stockier guy. I'm stronger. I would definitely say I'm upper tier strength. I've always been that way. I've worked very hard on it, but I was never a good mover. Really started to take it a lot more serious the last 2 years, especially being a catcher. Hips, thoracic spine.
Just a lot of the mobility.
Yeah, basic mobility stuff, but creating better patterns in how I move. Because if I'm not moving that well, then I don't feel as good. Then I'm a little more sore the next day,
Well, there's also like a direct correlation between like increase in muscle mass and flexibility. Like it just becomes harder to be more flexible. So it definitely has to be, because you have to have a lot of flexibility in baseball. I mean,
yes, especially as a catcher. I mean, it's different positions, but as a catcher, it's paramount, right?
So what does your training routine look like when you go into the gym? Are you hitting just like basically the fundamentals? You're not really doing any sort of vanity lifts like a chest press, or what are?
Yeah, not as much. This off season, I show up, I'm doing an hour of movement prep. A lot of stuff with PVC pipes, foam rollers, opening up my hips, opening up my thoracic spine, right? Going through that stuff first is really important. And I would say as any baseball player at a younger age, like figure out how you move, find a coach that can help you teach this, and develop a warm-up routine when you get to the weight room before you even start lifting, because that stuff's just as important. Creating your patterns, like how do I get out of my crouch? Can I get to this position easier? Because the easier you can get to it, the more efficient you can get to that position, and the ball's coming this quick. So that's huge. So I would do an hour of that.
Okay.
45 minutes to an hour. Then we get into the lift, right? And we're talking about doing movements, and then we're adding weight to a movement, right? To kind of reinforce that movement into the body. And so I would do, a lot of like opens this way, right? To open up the back of my shoulder, front of my shoulder, collar. You do it without weight, and then you add a band, and then you're doing it with resistance, and then all of a sudden you can move a little bit farther, and you're basically training your body to move in these different ways. So we go through that for another 20 minutes with some weight. Then we get into the lift, deadlift, bench.
Okay. So kind of leave that stuff for last.
That's kind of like the third part, and it's important as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, those are, you need those for just testosterone development and overall muscle and core strength and all of, like, those are foundational movements.
Yeah, we're hitting all of that stuff after all of the prep work. I mean, we're, all rows, squats, safety bar squats, split squats, whatever. So we hit that, and then do a little conditioning at the end. And then usually get ready to hit after that, get ready to hit. I'll go through my hitting routine with my guy, Pete Fatsy. Been working with him since I was a senior in high school. It's changing my career. He's with the Minnesota Twins now, actually, which is amazing. And then do a little defensive work after that. And
what about cardio? I mean, as a hitter, you have to be fast. I mean, you have to be able to break out into a really fast sprint to get to the base.
Yeah, baseball's a power sport. It's not going to serve us to run 3 miles.
Right. No, so right. You're practicing more like just
explosive.
Explosive.
Can I be explosive? And that's a certain type of training, and it's in intervals, right? It's short. I'm a stockier guy. I mean, I think I'm definitely faster for my position, but that's not really what I'm counted on to do in the field. But I'm training it. I'm training, 5-10-5, bike intervals, stuff like that. Things that I can just train that explosive, that first step, and getting out of the box, going first to third, beating out a ground ball, stuff like that. So that's also part of it. And some guys do more, some guys do less, depending on their profile.
Position, exactly.
Yeah. And the skills that they already have. I'm more of a gap-to-gap power guy.
What does that mean?
So just living gap-to-gap on the field. Like some guys hit balls into the ground, right? Hit balls into the ground and beat them out, or put a lot of balls in play. I've always been I just live in the gaps, right? Left center, right center. And then some home runs, ideally, if I can get it going. But like, that's always kind of been my profile in high school and at college, kind of what people would want me to be based on my body and how I move.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you talked about, as far as like nutrition side, you guys obviously you work with probably a nutritionist that is on the team. And so you said in the off season you try to really build up those calories, build up that muscle, that strength, and then you slowly decrease. So what does the nutritionist have you do? I mean, do they actually give you like a breakdown diet plan, or what does the diet look like for a professional baseball player?
It's a good question. It's the nutritionists, we have two in our organization. One kind of works with more the major league side. The other works with more the minor league side. I would love if they gave us personalized diet plans, but it's more common sense, right? But the Rays do a really good job. They provide awesome food, right? Because they understand that it's paramount to our performance.
Absolutely.
It's obviously we're not a big market team, right? We're not the Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers, so we're not buying big league players. So developing these guys, they've really put an investment in the food. Some places I've heard have worse food than others, right? But we have really good food, and everything in our lunchroom is like close to the source, right? And even our ketchup, right, doesn't have high fructose corn syrup. That's one thing people forget. Ketchup's like really bad for you. It's fatty. It's not real. It's paste of sugar and chemicals, right? So we even have like ketchup without any of that. Every day we got our meats, all grass-fed meats, vegetables. There's always fresh fruit, which I love in the morning. Always fresh fruit, ton of berries, strawberries, blueberries, pineapple, stuff like that. Almond butters. All the crackers we have are like bean-based crackers. So I mean, it's awesome. I mean, it's hard. You can't not eat well there. You kind of make your combinations as you go. I'm a guy that I drop weight pretty easily, so I try to maintain more. I'd rather do more than less because it's so hot outside. You're out there for so long,
and you want to maintain a lot of that strength being a hitter.
You have to. You have to. And it's so when I start to drop, and I start to feel like that bat feels a little heavier, I don't like that feeling. So and then the hydrating thing is huge too, right? So we have tons of Propels and different antioxidant waters and things like that, which are awesome. Need that just as much to keep weight on as well, right? And so there's that. So you kind of go as you will with what's kind of given. She also does a lot with sleep, which is important, that I've tried to get a lot better at over the past couple of years. But I wouldn't say we're not counting calories or nothing like that.
No, okay. So they don't have you actually like on a calorie like
no, we're not weighing our food. We're not like, all right, we need 5 pieces of asparagus. It's not really like that,
right? Are there any guys on the team that do that, or is it pretty much across the board? Everybody's just kind of eating until they're full and trying to just go read their body and if they need
a lot of
more.
reading the body. There's not a lot of body. I'm definitely one of the bigger guys. I mean, sometimes people make fun of me because I love doing curls and all that, but like it's not. No, you don't need big arms to be good at baseball, but I love it, and I definitely I write down a lot of the time what I'm eating and if I'm feeling a certain way, right? But a lot of it comes down to common sense, and then they give us 2 meals at the field when you get there, and then when you leave, and then you have dinner, obviously. Just finding something that is obviously a good choice at dinner too, to just keep it going. But I would just say I eat a ton of grass-fed beef, fruits, a lot of spinach, and I love the bean chips and making smoothies in the morning. Started that this off season, reading the Tom Brady TB12 book.
Nice.
That was a fun thing to read, look at. So I got on the smoothie grind this off season. I'm trying to maintain it.
Very cool. So what does your life look like outside of baseball?
Well, it's tough. I mean, it's like in the off season, I pretty much train all morning into the afternoon. Then I give lessons at night because we don't get paid in the off season. That's something a lot of people don't know. Minor league guys don't get, no athletes do really. They're getting paid when they play. So it's baseball all the time, and I love coaching, and I love going to places and speaking. My old high school and different high school events and all that. And then I love hanging with my friends when I'm at home. I don't see them all year. We do movie nights and stuff like that, and I love go-karting. I love racing. I go to a lot of local tracks around here. When we have an off day, I'll see if there's a race going on, go see a race, because that was my second dream, was being a NASCAR driver.
Oh, really? After, the baseball thing didn't work out?
Yeah, that was my second dream after baseball. Jeff Gordon was my hero.
Nice.
And, Jimmy Johnson. And my dad loved Tony Stewart and the best. So I go to races a lot, and I don't know anything about cars, but I wish I did. I'm trying to learn more. But and then obviously I like to lift too. Like I like to do vanity lifts just because it's fun, but that's kind of what we're looking at. It's just a lot of racing, a lot of training, a lot of
but everything's centered around baseball.
It really is. And sometimes I struggle because I feel like I don't have a balance sometimes. I've always been obsessed with it, and I've always battled with, man, like if I'm not playing, like what am I going to do? And that's something that's really scary to me. And I've tried to work through that and to sort of try to find other things that I like to do, because baseball is obviously my job, but it's also my hobby. It's also the thing I love most. I collected baseball cards like crazy as a kid. I just loved it. It was all I wanted to do. And then now I'm at a point where it's my job, and it won't be my job forever. It's not for everybody, but
what's the average career span for a baseball player, professional baseball player?
If you're a later round pick out of college, it could be 2 years, and that's tough, right? Yeah. It could be 2 years, right? I'm going into year 3. But if you get to the big leagues, you play for 10, 12, 15, or you could play for 1 and you're out. Like it's so unpredictable, and you just don't know. So that's the brutal part, because you're doing this all day. You're doing everything. Your entire lifestyle is just dedicated to making yourself perform the best.
Yeah. There has to be this constant pressure on a professional athlete.
Yeah,
to just
for
perform,
anybody.
For sure. Any aspect, but you guys are on a world stage.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of eyes and a lot of people that depend on you. And, it is at 100% reliant on how you perform, how you play.
That's brutal to the mind. And you find a lot of these athletes like getting in trouble or addiction or drugs or whatever. And that's a lot of times a coping mechanism for the stress and the uncertainty of where you could be. Right. And everybody thinks, or everybody sees Bryce Harper on TV, $300 million contract, NFL guys, minor league baseball players don't pay anything. It's like brutal. Right. It's less than minimum wage. that's just like, that's a fact, and there's been books written about it and all that. But like the perception of minor league baseball, it's interesting, is we'll get all this money and we get all these things. But the reality is like, it's, you finish the game, you go eat in the locker room what they put out for food, you get on the bus, either go back to the hotel or you drive all night to the next city where you're going to play the next day. You sleep from 6 a.m. to 12, get to the field at 2 and get ready to go. And people, there's a huge misconception about what it's like. We're not going to clubs and all these girls are waiting out after the games. Like, it's not like that. It's just every day going through your process. How do I be the best today? How can I perform? How can I get ready? And it's fun too. Don't get me wrong. It's a blast. But, you got to love doing it. So the day-to-day is really tough, and the perception is really tough at home sometimes, like people asking me for stuff, and like sometimes I can't give them everything that they think that I have, because they just don't, not their fault, I guess, but they don't know.
Yeah, and this is really why I wanted to bring you on the show too, just because you're in the middle of the process. It's not like you're at the end of your career, you've made it and you went as far as you're in the throes of it all.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, because I didn't know this until we actually started talking, even though you were drafted by the Rays, you have to go through minors.
Yes.
What was his name? Was it Zobrist? That was
Ben Zobrist. Yeah, great player.
Yeah. He was in the minors for 6 years, 5 years before
that's like not even that long, to be honest.
That's not that long. But you look at him now, and he's an amazing player. He moved on to the
he was with the Cubs. Yeah. He was with the I think
well, he's obviously he went through the minors with the Rays and became basically the top player there, and then just he's moved on to bigger teams and bigger clubs. And not to shit on the Rays, they do a lot with a small budget because they're not an established 100-year-old team like the Cubs or the Red Sox, but the things that they're able to do on a basic shoestring budget in the grand scope of baseball is really, really amazing.
90 wins last year. It's amazing. There's been books written about it. I read a book as a kid, The Extra 2%, which was about the Rays, how they were looking at players and all that. But yeah, Ben Zobrist, it's interesting you bring him up because he was one of my heroes as a kid. We used to idolize his swing. He had a beautiful swing. But
what's different about his swing?
He was just so easy with it. He was so calm, right? Like, and for me, I'm a very tense. Like, I want to move, I want to go. He was very smooth, man. He was just so relaxed, and that was something as a young kid I had to really work on. Is being relaxed in the box. It's not football,
Do you have a mantra or saying that you say when you're just at on the plate and just about to hit a ball, or is it literally just number one focus, just eye on the ball?
Yeah, I'm trying to be in flow with the pitcher. When he goes back, I go back, right? And I'm trying to keep my eyes quiet, keep my feet quiet, my heart rate just breathing, trying to get better at breathing. And then anticipating what I'm going to see, slowing everything down because it happens so fast, to be able to be calm and to have quiet feet and a quiet head is paramount in baseball.
It's incredibly difficult when you've got, thousands of fans looking at you and it's just loud and people are yelling and
and you get up there and the place is shaking and they're striking them out. And it's
how do you quiet your mind in a situation like that?
It's a skill, man. Some days it's easier than others, right? Some days I'm like, not playing well and this whole place is chance to strike them out. And then you kind of start to feel like, ooh, what if that happens? But other days it's easier, right? And it's just about focusing on the window, right? The pitcher. And I'm trying to pick up the seams of the ball, and then understanding, if I get a fastball here, I'm going. I'm go, and breathe. Okay, routine, right? Take my one-handed swing, think about my backside. Let's get in the box. Let's feel comfortable, and let's go. It gets better with time.
With any skill, it's just
But I didn't mean to get off topic there. The minor leagues is the minor leagues is a extensive process.
So with the NFL, you go, you're drafted and then you make it on to the practice squad and then you're either cut or you're not. Mm-hmm. And there's no minor league in a lot of other sports. Yeah. So baseball is pretty unique in that sense that they even though you're drafted by these big name teams, you put your time in.
Yeah,
minors.
You're still with the Rays.
You're still in you're at an improving ground, really, essentially.
In a lot of ways. But the NHL is the AHL, right? So the AHL guys move to the NHL, right? And they're part of the Bruins organization, but they're in the AHL,
right?
Bruins AHL. So that's how it goes, right? So NBA got the G League practice squad, obviously in the NFL, but baseball is so extensive. There's a huge pool of players. You're talking about Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela, just to name a few, of places they're pulling players from. Then you got the whole expansive talent that's all over the country. There's a lot of capable players, right? And the difference in baseball isn't big. So I explain this in a lot of places. If you talk about the NFL, you talk about Alabama, right? Best college football team. And then you take a guy from, let's say, UNH, University of New Hampshire, right? Division I AA school versus Alabama. The physicality of that player generally isn't the same as the Alabama guy. They're just going to be flat out faster. They're going to be strong. They're going to be bigger. Their wingspan is going to be longer because there's only so many of those guys. So there's a huge disparity, right? In the NFL, the amount of prospects that really are available, it's smaller because
it's a much smaller pool.
Smaller pool of capable players who have the intangibles to do it.
And most of the time you're pulling just from the United States.
Yes.
And you're up against guys from all over the world.
Yes. It's a global game. Baseball, if you throw 92, you throw 92. You know what I mean? And that guy can compete because he throws that hard. And there's a lot of guys that can figure out how to throw hard. So with the giant, pool of players, there needs to be more games to understand, what is this guy capable of, right? And hitting is so hard. The famous quote, Ted Williams, you have 3 out of 10, you fail 7 out of 10 times, you're in the Hall of Fame. Hitting is such a finite thing, and it takes so long to create a profile on a guy. Your batting average fluctuates so rapidly, even in 200 at bats. You need a large sample size, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
To understand what a player is in baseball. In football, you have your 40 time, vert, bench press. How strong is he? How fast is he? Okay, now we can kind of work off that. In baseball, there's a lot more that goes into it. So there's a lot more games, and you need to move up through the levels, and there's a maturity process, and there's 7 levels in the minor league. We have 7 teams leading up to the big league roster. Yeah.
Wow.
So
it's this 7 levels of to get to the bigs. That's
but at the same time, you're talking about it's the best baseball in the world at the same time. That goes you're an A ball, whatever. But that goes unnoticed. Those guys are incredible.
Right.
Those guys can compete in the big leagues. It's just a function of their age and how much time. Plenty of guys on my team last year that could compete in a big league game, no problem. I'm sure of it. But the reason they're in the big leagues is because they're able to do it day in and day out. Consistency, they're the same guy. So that's what we're all working towards. It's
just that consistency in playing, and just they know what the coaches will know what to expect when they put you in.
Maintaining you. This is what you do, right? And you're able to do this more times than not. So
that makes a lot of sense.
You go in an A-ball game. I mean, I used to go to Portland Sea Dogs games as a kid. It's a double-A team for the Red Sox. Those guys compete in the big leagues, no problem. And you wouldn't notice. They're like, oh, the guys. No normal fan wouldn't notice, but the finite details of. You just need a big sample size, so that's why.
Well, and you have a huge pool. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense, and it's an interesting game for sure.
Yeah,
I grew up my whole life, people assuming that I'm good at baseball because I'm Puerto Rican.
Yeah,
and and I have a lot of family members that had played and stuff like that. But my biggest thing was I was just so terrified of the ball. Every time as a little kid, I just I got better as I started playing more and more, but it was definitely one of those situations that I was just just scared of the ball.
It doesn't feel good when it hits you. I'll tell you that. It does not feel
so good. Have you been hit before?
Of course I have. Yeah, of course, man.
It's just like a normal thing. So where have you been hit?
Everywhere. Head, shoulder, thighs, hips. I mean,
what's the fastest ball you've been hit with?
100.
Where was the worst spot? Did you break any bones or anything? Like, you got hit in the ribs?
No, thank God, no. Probably the lower back, because there's not enough muscle
like
there.
You were just turning.
Yeah, and then it leaves like a deep mark, and it's just there for a couple weeks.
Has there ever been a hit that you feel like it was on purpose? Like you've been hit on purpose?
No, not in my career, but
that happens though, right?
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, I mean
you guys, it's like a tit for tat. Like if their pitcher hits one of your guys, your pitcher's going to hit one of theirs.
Yeah, it depends on. It's the etiquette of the game, right? It's like if guy pimps a home run or it's generally if guy does something that kind of demonstrates a lack of feel. So maybe I might hit this guy. I've had a couple. Back in college summer ball in the Futures League, my freshman year, my guy's throwing a no hitter. Some D3 scrub comes up, hits a homer, barely squeaks out, right, and he pimps it. He starts walking, flips the bat. It's a packed crowd, 25-cent beer night. Everybody's rowdy. I'm catching. We're up 4-1 now. Guys run around the bases, and my pitcher's throwing a no-hitter. So I just sat there and wait for him at home plate, and I was like, you do that again, we're throwing at your head next at bat. I'm sorry, we're throwing at your head. Go back to the bench. You're hitting 220. You stink.
There should be like this, even though if you say he got a lucky hit or whatever, there has to be this etiquette and respect.
It's etiquette and respect. It's like, hey, my guy's throwing a no hitter, and then you squeaked one out of here, and you're gonna pimp that like you're Barry Bonds.
What does that mean? What does that pimp?
Okay, that's
yeah. I don't know what that means.
So you hit it right. You flip your bat. You stare at it. Fans love homer celebrate. It's like a touchdown celebration.
Yeah.
Like kind of, but like you hit it and you know it's out. You flip the bat, kind of like Sammy Sosa, Maria crow hop down the line, like pimp the home run. But like I've never pimped a home run. I don't.
Showboating.
You gotta know that it's gone, right? So this kid, stinks. Gets up. He's having the time of his life, prancing down the line. So I waited for him at home plate. I said, dude, like I'm throwing at your head. Next at bat, get ready. And he was like, F this, and their coach ran out, grabbed me. He's like, who do you think you are? Pushes me, and all of a sudden, bench is clear. Guys throwing beers on the field. It's hilarious. But then next at bat, kid comes up, plunk him right in the head. And
aren't you? So isn't the pitcher afraid that? I mean, you can seriously hurt somebody, throwing at somebody's head.
Well, the helmet is like more like I'd rather get hit in the head than anywhere else. Yeah, helmet. So. That doesn't actually just like flex.
It's more of or anything. It doesn't really take that much to concuss somebody.
Whatever, dude.
Yeah,
it's more the idea, right? Like, and it's hard to actually hit somebody in the head. Like, it's pretty.
Well,
tough.
it's a small target.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I hit him in the shoulder or something like that. But, stuff like that. It happens. I've never been hit intentionally, but it does happen.
That's brutal.
It's a funny story.
You guys have so with football.
Yeah.
You get to hit the person that pisses you off, and it's part of the game. You don't really have that in baseball outside of throwing something or like, I mean, I guess like if somebody approaches a base, you can kind of like nudge them or whatever, but you don't really get that like physical outlet of like your frustration on a player that's just pissed you off.
Yeah, and I think, and sometimes you see it boil over in baseball, right? You got your brawls and all that, but like baseball, it's a different game. Like usually we're more laid back. I mean, it's a more laid back game.
Yeah, it's much more sleepy. Yeah, it's just.
I mean, there's a lot going on. If you don't know what's going on, there's a lot going on. But
I have never fallen asleep during a game.
That's good. That's a good thing. Yeah, at least you're paying attention, you know. But like, there's a lot of things about it that people aren't seeing. Right? There's a lot that's happening in between pitches that a lot of people don't notice. That's fine, but you know, it's a very intricate game, and it's just not like a game where you got to be like, you know, all the way.
Yeah.
Knock this guy out, right. But it happens. But I wish sometimes it was more physical because I enjoy that. I miss football, man.
Yeah. Did you play football?
I loved it. Played it.
What position did you play?
I was a running back, linebacker.
Yeah, you got that look. Yeah. You got that look. Yeah. You're perfect for that position.
The football, man.
Yeah.
I miss it. I miss it.
There's something fun about just hitting people and running through people. You know, there's that physicality of it all, and you know, just our stupid male testosterone driven brains, you know, finds a certain satisfaction of just plowing somebody down.
I loved it, man.
And
I hated playing defense. I like running the ball. I like scoring.
Yeah. Well, you're still running people down. You know, you're just running over them. You know, you gotta break through a lot of people to go get that ball in the end zone. So my theory is, you know, with baseball is that you have a lot of pressure, obviously, in the game. Somebody does something to piss you off, and you see fights all the time in baseball, and just like this built-up, pent-up aggression that the only way to actually get it out is to clear the dugouts and have a brawl.
Yeah, there's a lot more into that too. I mean, usually the guys that are starting the fights are like, maybe they're in a slump and it's been a couple weeks and they're not doing well, and it builds up because it's so frustrating, right? Like you miss a ball by that much. You know, you're out, you know, and it's a very frustrating thing. It's very finite. Hitting is so detailed. So that's part of it too.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't blame anybody. So,
yeah.
And it's good for the game. I'm gonna be straight up. I mean, it's good for the game. Like fans want to see it. You know, fans want to see offense. Fans want to see fights. Fans want to see.
Yeah, no, it makes the game a lot more fun.
They want to see.
I mean, that's why you go to a hockey game. You see just to see the fights.
Yeah,
I mean that's why I went. Yeah, it's really entertaining.
It's a big thing. Baseball players are entertainers as well.
Humans are just so brutal. You know, we just love to see each other fight. I mean, you have dedicated like YouTube videos to just brawls, street fights, and we find some sort of sick amusement out of it all. I remember going to a hockey game, and we had ringside seats, which was unbelievable. It's the first time you know, we're on the ice, front row, and a few fights break out, and there's this little like hole where like the photographers take pictures in the glass. And I kept like joking around with the guys next to me, like, "Oh man, it'd be so funny if, you know, a puck came through that," because a puck could absolutely come through one of those holes.
It could. Yeah,
like it's really, really likely. I mean, there's a good amount of room for it. And a fight breaks out right in front of the glass. The photographer pulls his camera down, but he doesn't plug the hole.
Yeah.
And so the fight breaks out, and we're just sitting there watching, and one of the sticks comes through the hole and comes within like probably an inch of my face.
Yeah.
And
this is awesome. Yeah.
Well, no, it happened so quick. Yeah. Like it was just like, boom. Yeah. And it was the most terrifying moment because I was like, my fear it wasn't a puck
poked in the face,
but it was just like, and my guys were like, "Oh man, that would have been awesome if you would have gotten a scar. You could have sued. You would have been a millionaire." And I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'd rather not have a scar on my face or lose an eye. But yeah, we find some like, you know, but when those guys are fighting, you're just sitting there yelling.
Yeah.
You know, just it's
entertainment, man. It's what it is.
It's crazy.
I mean, any sports, any athlete is an entertainer first. You know, this is a big thing I think gets forgotten. That's part of the reason I spent a lot of time with my social media and my brand and working with people like you, right? Because it's entertainment. And that's, you know, you don't have any fans, you know, there's no game to play. So really, it's all good for the game. That's good for the game. Like,
are you intentional about like signing autographs and taking time with fans and stuff like that?
It's the best part. I mean, dude, the best memories of when I was a kid going to minor league games, I was too shy to talk to players, right? In a minor league game, I want to talk to them. But if a guy just saw me, you know, I'm just sitting there with my glove, he throws me a ball. I mean, my God, it was the best thing ever, right? So I know that. I still remember those days like they are yesterday. Literally, I still have all my autographed balls when I was a kid, right? Somewhere in my room. They're on my shelf, proudly displayed for years. So when I come out of the locker room, you best believe that I'm signing every autograph just because they paid for a ticket, give them an experience. And you're not going to be a pro baseball player forever. So it's important to me because I know that kid's going to go home with the ball. It doesn't matter who's on it. It could be me, it could be another guy, but they're going to value that experience. They're going to value that day. They're going to come back, and that's ultimately what you want. So I got no problem with it. I'll sign every autograph if I can. So that's how I go about it.
Do you have a lot of guys that don't necessarily share that same opinion?
Yeah, there are guys that don't, and
what's the reasoning?
I think
I've always thought that. I'm like, why? It takes you just a few moments of your life to just spend some time with a fan.
I know.
I know there's a lot of them, but like,
there are guys that don't. And there has to be the time and place, right? Don't get me wrong. Like, you don't want to be doing it right before first pitch. Like,
I get
time
that.
to focus up.
Right.
When you walk out of the locker room after BP, I mean, in my opinion, that's fan time. Right? You gotta interact. You got to give them something of value, right, to take home. There are guys that don't. I think one, because like if they sign more cards, their autograph is worth less. Like the more,
okay.
right?
That's I didn't realize that. Yeah.
Which I think is stupid, right? Yeah. And then, then there's it's annoying, or I only sign for kids. I don't sign for adults. Like, I get that. You know what I mean? Or, like, I'm focused. Like, well, they ask all the time. I already signed for that kid last week, or like whatever. Like, but I don't really care. I'm just open. I'm open with it. I don't really care. Guys will do what they do. But for me, I say to those guys, like, hey, you're not going to be a pro baseballer forever, man. You're going to wish people were asking for your autograph. Why not? Why not? It's part of the game.
What's like the general vibe in like most of the locker rooms that you've been in baseball field? Like,
fun vibe. Baseball's locker rooms are fun.
Yeah.
Guys just love just giving each other crap, and always music going, and super, super good. And then before the game, guys are doing about their routines, pretty focused. After the game, fun vibe.
What's your pregame routine? Do you have one?
I want to feel prepared, right? I go through all our BP, our early work. I want to feel loose. I want to feel stretched. Sometimes I'll watch some video of some really good swings that I like on my phone or whatever, just to see myself doing something that I want to do. I like how my hands are working. I like where my barrel's at. I like my hip positioning. I just want to watch it sometimes. And try to just be, I don't want to think about games previous. I don't want to think about, I'm 0 for my last 10, like things like that. Like,
just kind of put that stuff out of your mind.
Yeah, like, let's go compete. Like, I got to be in compete mode. Let's look at some video of the pitcher we're facing, right? Like, I want to go mash this guy. I'm going to go embarrass this guy. Getting dialed in, getting excited, watching. And it's not like I say anything to myself, like, oh, have a good game, have a good game. It's not like that. Like, it's not like I eat anything. Like, I want to eat good food before the game. I want to feel alert. I don't want to feel groggy. I don't want to feel tired. I want to feel ready and present.
Do you or any of the guys on the team like practice any sort of stoicism?
Like meditation type things?
Yeah, exactly.
A couple of guys do. One of my teammates last year was really into that, and he would meditate in the hotel rooms, and I admired him. His name's David Parrott. If he sees, I admired the way that he went about that. Very, in his faith, and was very trusting of his process. And like, he would meditate every day. He always got up early. He would read. And for me, like, I was like, how do you get up? I mean, we just got in at 2. How do you get up at 7 and read? Like, I was like, I got to sleep. I got to get that extra couple hours. But he had his way of doing it. And I really liked it. And I started to take some of it to myself. And I have practiced some of these ideas. I've tried Qigong before. That was something that I tried and looked into. I think it's a very serious thing, and I think I try to do it on the buses. Try to listen to things that kind of zone in and meditate, and like think about who I want to be, how I want to be off the field, how I can get the most out of the next game. I think that's a huge thing. I think that's becoming more of a trend too in sports right now.
It's a really, really cool mentality to have, but meditation is the benefits. I mean, we can look at brain scans and see the benefits of meditation. It's really unbelievable.
I want to get better at it. It's also big with guys and their identities too. Like baseball, like, it's consuming, and I struggle with this. Like, when I'm not playing well, like, it's hard for me to, like, sometimes I'm not as nice, or like, or I feel different about the world, like, when I'm not playing well, right? And that's something I've gotten a lot better at, but every baseball player has that. So like, I think getting good at doing that is very valuable, and kind of gets you out of that mindset. And I work on it all the time, believe me. I mean, even before last year, but finding guys that like it is huge. I have a very cluttered mind sometimes at night, or like thinking about all these things. Like I want to play well. Like I really prepared so much. Like how'd I feel today? And I just think about these things. So very, very big, very big.
Yeah.
I want to get better at it.
Yeah, no, it's good. So what are some of the highlights from your career thus far? I mean, some things that stick out. Obviously, like getting drafted. That's a huge highlight. That's got to be probably number one.
Yeah, I mean, being an All-Star last year, a New York Penn League All-Star was an honor. I mean, I used to go to those games as a kid, the little spinner games. Played in that league last summer, was an All-Star. Really amazing to be a professional All-Star, you know, after having a really tough year my first year, and to come back, make adjustments, and then play at a high level when I felt like I even could have played better, and I was an All-Star, and it just really was amazing for me. Definitely in college, you know, leading the country and hitting for that period of time, and being an All-Star in my summer leagues, NECBL All-Star and Futures League All-Star. And,
is there a specific like game or home run or something that just kind of stands out in your mind? Specific moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, my junior year, University of Arizona, sold out crowd Friday night, first inning, facing a lefty, hadn't given up a run all season. First pitch, I hit a homer over the center field wall. My uncle was there, and just the purity of that swing and how hard I worked to make a swing like that, to go deep over the center field fence, you know, in a big time college environment, was a blast. I mean, hitting a home run in the NECBL All-Star game my sophomore summer, scouts, big crowd, stuff like that. It was great. And, you know, a couple defensive plays here and there, but there's a couple of those moments, you know, you stow away. You know, that's,
use it for motivation.
Yeah, my first home run, I was 9 years old. I mean, I'll never forget it. You know, I mean, 9 years old, my first ball seeing it go over the fence is crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Opens up a whole new world for you, you know.
So what's your goal over the next few years? Obviously, you want to get on the main team for Tampa and be in the major leagues.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal, right? I want to play for a long time. I think I can play for a long time. I think I have the mentality for it.
What are the people around you saying?
Well, what do you mean about, like,
just what are the coaches saying as far as, like, are they encouraging you? They're like, you've got what it takes to be there. Yeah,
I mean, I've gotten a lot of good encouragement from coaches. I mean, what I want to hear is, like, you're getting better. You continue to get better. Because if I get better, a little bit better every year, if I get a little tighter here and a little better there, I'll continue to play and I'll continue to move up. And I know that I'll be able to make the adjustments that I need to make, because that's what it is. And I've always kind of trended, right? In my college, if you look at my college trajectory, you know, had a rough freshman year, got a lot better in that summer. Sophomore year was great. Junior year was fantastic. And I'm kind of on that same trend now. And I've only heard positive things. Like, you continue to get better. It's amazing how much better you've gotten. And I take that to heart, because, I mean, believe me, I work on it every single day. So,
baseball,
I want to be in the big leagues.
Yeah, baseball is literally your life. I mean,
it's
every day. It's what you're thinking about.
And I want to be in the big leagues, and mostly I want to play for a long time, but I want to impact a lot of people through it. I want to have opportunities like this to do things off the field through baseball, because I think that, you know, it's amazing. You can only do it for so long. So I'd like to have a voice too within the game, kind of be an influencer in many ways about how people view the game and how to play. And I want to be looked at as a guy who's like, man, he plays the right way, plays hard. I love his swing. Because I have those guys I looked up to as a kid. So that's kind of, you know, obviously everyone says, oh, I want to be in the big leagues, and that's true, but there's other sides to it too.
But you've got like an actual strategy, and you're on your way to actually being there.
You just got to perform well every day and understand that it's going to come, and that some days are going to suck and some days are going to be really great. And trying to get better at embracing those suck days, you know, like, and trying to get a lot better at that. Mm-hmm. But this year's a big year for sure. I'll be in a full season club most likely this year. I wouldn't see why not. And I haven't done that yet. So that's going to be another adjustment, and we're going to keep making adjustments. I see no reason why I can't play for a very long time. Yeah. I really don't.
Yeah. I mean, the longevity in the sport. I mean, you can stay healthy pretty long. I mean, that's
the goal. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sometimes it hurts guys, but yeah, I never want to go through another injury, man.
Yeah.
Like the one I had. So
yeah, that's brutal. Well, so we're going to wrap this up, but as as a closer, I always like to ask the question, if you can get one message out to the world, like if you could say one thing utilizing a platform, what is that message? What is this, something that just resonates with you?
Well, like I said at the start, I mean, I'm a dreamer, right? I think anybody really has the ability to accomplish anything. I fully believe that. I don't believe in coach didn't like me, or like I got hurt that one time, or my parents didn't let me, or like this. Like there's always excuses. I have excuses, right? Like everybody does. But really, like I want people, if you have something you want, and I think people give up on their childhood dreams too early. I really believe that wholeheartedly. That through discipline, through very extreme discipline and focused work, you can get to where you want to go, or at least very close. And too many people give up on it and settle for doing what's easy, and that's sad to me, because I never in high school I sacrificed a lot of things to put myself in a position to go to college, to then put myself in a position to be good in college. And there are things in college I didn't go out a lot in college. I don't drink, I don't smoke, never have. Something that I've sacrificed, right? The social time and the things that we're doing off the field, like other ways, but like I want to do this. It requires a lot, and there's not a lot of people that can put that aside. But if you do, and you invest your time correctly, you can do it, man.
It's awesome.
And especially baseball, any sport.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, your passion and your dedication to the game on and off the field, and your mindset towards the game there's just no doubt in my mind that you're going to be hugely successful.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. We're going to keep going.
Exactly.
Keep going with it. And you keep going with this. I love it, man. These clothes are awesome. Your whole vibe, the brand is amazing.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I'm really excited to have you a part of the O&S team, and this is really exciting things to come.
Yeah, I love being a part of it, dude. This is something that's on the way up. I like jumping on there, grassroots, so I appreciate it. This is great.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.